Okay, Isaac here again with America the Lighthouse. I'm going to talk about. Oh, I'm going to talk about something that's controversial these days, but I never thought I'd live to see the day where this was controversial. Now, when I was younger, in my early 20s, there was this bar I went to, mainly because they had $2 pints of Paps to from like 10 to midnight. So I go there with like $10 and get pretty fucking drunk, man. And dance around to goth synth dance music at the time. But it was segmented in two parts. The first part was um, like a stage. They had a stage, and the back part was like a dance floor, and they had like a DJ that made music and stuff, as much as a DJ can make music. But every I think it was Sunday, no, Wednesday, um, was Goth Industrial Night at Embers, and then the back was where they had the Goth Industrial Night. But every once in a while, as I was going through the first part of Embers to the back part to the gothy dancey area, with the really cheap beer, they would have drag shows. And I always thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, like it's interesting to see people dress up and entertain. And I always thought that what it was. Most of the drag queens were gay, but they never thought themselves as a woman. They were just a guy who liked to dress up in extravagant women's clothing. And it's not the clothing that the average, run-of-the-mill woman would wear, except for maybe like on a Halloween ball or something, or they were having a themed party or something. But I never saw a problem with it. I don't think anyone saw a problem with it. It wasn't until that that line blurred and the men who would drag queens, cross dressers, uh early later on, people saw that, or young people saw that, and I don't know how they made the correlation that they should be a woman instead of a man. Um Now that being said, if you're born a guy and you decide you want to be a girl, after you are 18, and are able to legally make all decisions for yourself, then be a woman. I have no problem with it, you know. Uh, but don't act like it's the most. It's treated as if it's a common day thing for that to happen. It's very rare that that's the case where a man wants to be a woman and becomes a woman and doesn't regret it later on. The majority of people who get this notion in their head that they're the wrong gender, and that's what it is, just a crazy notion. Um, they almost always inevitably divert back to the gender they were born as, which is male or female, um, because it's generally just a phase that those people go through. Or that not those people that people go through. They go through a phase thinking they might be this gender instead of that gender. Uh, but it's almost always a rare percentage that follow through and can be legitimately seen as being maybe the wrong gender. I don't believe that, but again, in this country, you're able to believe whatever you want to. Just because you believe you're a girl doesn't mean I have to believe that you're a girl. You can believe it without me believing it, and it doesn't take away from your belief. But if your belief is depends on me acknowledging it, then maybe you aren't that. Maybe it's just gender dysphoria disorder, which is a thing apparently. When I was growing up, I never heard that. We knew people were gay. We knew people were lesbians, and we knew sometimes gay men like to dress up as women and have fun with it. And it wasn't a bad thing. It was entertaining. It was interesting, but it was done in an environment where consenting adults would be okay with it. It wasn't done around kids. It wasn't done in libraries, and so this idea that that type of um, that group needs to be forefront in every aspect of every part of everyday life is wrong. It doesn't need to be the forefront. It can be in the back, accepted, understood, and enjoyed, without being pushed into the forefront of the ethos or the ether, not ethos, the ether, as I call it, the I don't know what you would define it as, just the ether. It's like you put an idea out in the ether, and then a couple years later, you see something similar to that. You're like, oh wow, that's cool, and it's simply because it went from you to another person to another person to another person until it landed in the person's head that could realize that thing, and therefore it was out in the ether. Um, and those type of shows, drag shows, are great. They're very entertaining, very comical, very enjoyable, but only if you are an adult. That's why they were predominantly held in bars, like the bars I talked about in Portland, Embers. I love that bar. It was awesome. The rafters were painted the rainbow color. It was a very, very gay bar. I mean, I don't mean gay as in like stupid. I mean gay as in it was. I think it was probably run by gay people for gay people for the entertainment of gay people, and that's perfectly fine. And as a straight person, I went there. I interacted with people. I thought it was a good time had by all. But we were all over in that place. We were all over 21, so it wasn't even just 18. It was like 21. I'm sure. Um, you could have the case for it being acceptable for 18-year-olds, but they were predominantly held in bars, and bars are predominantly 21 and over. So uh, we need to stop allowing this to be put into a part of the world, or part of the, I guess, the ether that is the the forefront of it, because it is an outliner. It's not a the majority of humans don't align with that thought process of being gay or being cross-dresser. Now you think, oh, look at that straight white guy. He doesn't know anything. I, I spent quite a bit of time in my 20s. I wore skirts and wigs and platform boots, and mainly the skirts because they were comfortable and long. And uh, I actually had ripped my pants one night in Berkeley on an acid trip, and I had no way to sewing them. So I had to go find something I could put on to cover the rip in my butt. And finding pants that fit me were not always the easiest. So I found a long black skirt, and I put it on, and then I just continued to wear them, for a while. But it wasn't like I like to put on women's clothing because it's women's clothing. It was skirts are comfortable, and at the time they served a purpose. Um, I tend to not wear them anymore simply because I don't find myself in a position where I have to worry about my pants ripping and being exposing my butt to everyone. Um, and now I have when I was homeless, I only had one pair. Now I've got a place and a place to put clothing. I got multiple pairs of pants, so if I get one rips, I can just put another pair. So I kind of stopped, wearing the skirts, but that just goes to show you, it doesn't matter to me what you wear or who you are. As a Christian, I'm taught to love everyone because everyone is God's children. And so, but we need to accept that some things are underliners, some things are outliers, some things are the fringe, some things are a percentage of the population, and treat them accordingly. To accept them, but to understand that they don't need to be on every screen in every place at all times. There's a time and a place for such things. And even in the 2000s, we kind of knew where those things belonged. And it's not to say that, the majority of the people in the drag drag queening, dressing in drag are people that can't be around children. No, by all means, they're generally really nice, kind people. But that activity of cross-dressing, it's usually very scantily clad, very, very sexualized. And again, that's nothing wrong, but it needs to be kept in the area of the world where it belongs. And I say that about Christianity. I don't think kids should be forced to say prayers in school. I do believe the Pledge of Allegiance should be said. If they want to remove one nation under God, by all means, but that's some commie fucking crap if you ask me. But my shirt looks weird there. Let's see if I can get my shirt to not look weird. I guess it's gonna look weird there. It looks like a little side boob there. Uh, and I lost my train of thought. But it's this idea that we have to push it to have it accepted. But all those things were accepted even back in the 90s. I remember, Friends, the first episode, Ross's wife leaves him because she's a lesbian. No one thought any bad of that. It was just a thing. It was because there were gay people. But again, 90% of the show wasn't gay or transgender. There was one person who was gay, and that's a good representation of the percentage of people in the world. There is, and I'm saying, and there's probably about 10% of the population is that way, and I mean legitimately that way, not just a teenage angst of, oh, I'm bisexual, or, oh, I'm gonna like women, or I'm gonna like men, but legitimately, truly like the same sex in that way. And I'm not gonna get into like, oh, it's a sin, because everything's a sin. Most things we humans do fall short of the glory of God, and it's not for us to judge the sinner or the sin. We are told to hate the sin, love the sinner, hate the sin. But even I don't hate the sin, because that's part of us. That's part of us being mankind. We're flawed, crazy, weird creatures, and of course, we fall short. Even as a human, as a child, you fall short of the approval of your parents. And so it's nothing uncommon or strange, um, for in that regard. But when we embrace it and accept it as, oh, that is completely normal, that's where we get the problem. Because you can accept something with not accepting it as the norm. Uh, and that nuance in judgment is lost on this generation, because they're taught they have to think the right way, or they're a bigot or a sexist or a racist. But you can not like someone, and not you can not like someone, and it can be based not on their skin color but their character. But simply disliking someone who's black now is racist, whether that person is a criminal or a PhD. Hating them is simply because you hate them, but now if you hate them, it's because they're black. Even if you have a black friend, you hate one black person, the wrong black person, you're a racist. Um, and that is another thing that we need to get over. You can hate someone of any color, of any religion, of any race. You can even hate them because they're black in this country. You're not going to go far. You're not going to have many friends, and you're going to have to keep most of those opinions to yourself, because most jobs, most jobs in this country don't look kindly on that type of that train of thought. Um, so we need to understand that we can accept something as being okay for some people, not for others, and not see it as hate. Um, the best thing you can do is understand that you may dislike it, but they love it. It's who they are, and so you can like someone who's gay. You can hate someone who's gay. You can like someone who's black. You can hate someone who's black. It's good if that dislike or hatred, or whatever you want to call it, is based on a character a character trait, like, do they tell the truth? Are they punctual? Are they flaky? Do they lie a lot? Um, do they have loose fingers, loose lips, stuff like that? Are they abusive to animals or women or children? All those things you can hate someone for. But hating someone for the color of their skin, to me, that seems stupid as a Christian and then as an American, because we're the only country that doesn't have a national identity other than the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And so we need to remember that just because we accept something doesn't mean we have to allow it to be thrust at us all the time. No pun intended there. Actually, no pun intended. Can be uh can be brought up so predominantly. It doesn't need to be brought up predominantly, because again, if you have a problem with someone who's gay because they're gay, that could say more on you than them being gay, or it could not, or you just have had bad experience with gay people, and so that's kind of tainted your view. Same with black people, same with Asians. You know, you could have had bad experience. You could have bad experience with cops, and that skews your opinion of the cops. But majority of cops are good. Majority of black people are good. The majority of gay people are good. There's assholes in every group, and we need to start learning how to identify the assholes independently, and allow other people who dislike people for legitimate reasons, allow them to hate. Because that's one of our freedoms. We have the right to hate anything and everything we want to. Um, I may make a video on my philosophy of hate. I picked up while I was in Berkeley. I refined it, I think, some from the original philosophy of hate man. Maybe I'll do a video on that sometime soon. But just know that because you're gay or transgender or whatever, you don't have to push in people's faces. It doesn't have to be brought up in any way, shape, or form. Because unless like if you're gay, your sexuality only applies to the person you are at present being intimate with, oh, of legal age. Everyone else, it doesn't concern them. It shouldn't concern them, and you shouldn't care if people are concerned by that. If someone doesn't like gay people, you'd be better off just not associating with them, not talking to them. Don't cancel them. Don't berate them. Don't dox them. Just let them be. Um, and if they persist, then it gets into harassment, and then you can take legal action. But the best part of most situations is just to remove yourself from it. I know people's pride and feelings and emotions get in the way, but a lot of the worst judgments made by people is when they're emotional or distraught or otherwise, you know, being unrational or unlogical. And that's hard for some people. It's easy for me because I have Asperger's disorder or syndrome. I think I like syndrome better because disorder sounds like bad. Syndrome sounds like, oh, that's a syndrome. That's kind of cool. But um, but just don't let your world be dictated by emotion all the time. You need to step back and look at things logically. And look at I only had a couple drags of my cigarette. That's why I like these papers. They go out, so my cigarette doesn't burn itself. But that's 17 minutes. I think I'm gonna call it quits there. This video will be up on Sunday because Saturday I don't work because I treat Saturday as a Sabbath. So thank you and till later. Bye.